Mini is on the Yone again. This is his fourth Yone game and his fourth loss on the champion. He is 0 for 4 on the character with scores of 0-3, 1-3, 1-5, 3-5. Is he going on tour? And where can I buy tickets?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Salt Mine. This is Season 5, Episode 5. Am I right on that? I am. Season 5, Episode 5, the double fives. We are fresh off week number 5 of the NACL, right? Yes, we are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're getting right back in sync. That's what missing a week will do for you. And plenty of news over the course of the last week. CLOL has gotten fully underway. There's a couple of potential LTA promotions being talked about. I don't have the Aegis logo in here. I'm going to get that added as y'all introduce yourselves. But we're going to talk about ACL as well. And then, of course, another week's worth of NACL games. My name's Gordo. I'm joined by the whole crew, Quax, Slayer, and TDS, whose cam is once again betraying him. Welcome aboard, everybody. How's the week been? How's everyone doing?
Dude,
Slayer, welcome back.
Finally, we get all four boys back together. There's no Grump. There's no me coming in and then TDS having to switch out. Slayer is back from the brink of death. It's good to have the full. It's good to have the full crew back together. It didn't feel the same without all four of us here. Let me just.
I do think we have to consider Grump kind of a main member now, considering the amount of times that he's appeared so far. Actually,
I'm down for that.
Yeah. Hopefully a little less going forward, but yeah, it's good to be able to, fill slots on the graphic when everybody can't be here. So, sponsorship's back. Thank you very much, Aegis. And let's open things up a little bit by talking about the team of the hour, Darkzero, who have been through a lot over the course of the last week. So, they do not play in week number 5. They run Darkzero Light.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They run Darkzero Light against Near Airport in the first match of the week, which is the ex-Polestar roster, the Tenacity, Kryra, Toasty, Spawn, and Cryogen roster. We can start by talking about that a little bit, but then there's also news that a certain Yuji may finally be getting his LTA spot after getting bait and switched multiple times.
Dude,
on Team Liquid. That's a Pokemon confirmed item as of today, so we could definitely talk about that one a little bit, and maybe some other rumors drifting around on the side. So let's seize the moment, grab whatever Darkzero subject speaks to you the most. But let's talk about this squad right now.
So, I mean, it's also important to remember that over the past week, they won the NACE Grand Finals, right? They added that. And there was an interview with the whole team at the end after they won. Really convincingly, by the way. The team is just so fucking good. That Niles basically alluded to that this was the last dance for the team. That this was going to be the last time all 5 players played together. And obviously, today, a couple days later, we got that Yuji was going to Team Liquid, like Gordo said. There's rumors, though, that and hope around the rest of the squad, though, that they can be picked up by LTA as well. I know there's been just a lot of hopium surrounding Zamudo. I am also a part of that train. And I was really kind of hoping that it would be FlyQuest Zamudo potentially, because we know how much FlyQuest loves the talent pipeline, being one of the only teams that actually stuck with their challenger team after it was no longer required. But they got Gatkos, I believe, from TR. So it's a little bit of it happens. And honestly, my current theory, like headcanon theory, is that Bwipo wanted to choose his successor. And maybe he had more of a voice in it, or he had just as much of a voice in it as maybe the rest of the team. It makes sense, right? Because I think Bwipo is probably not thinking about retiring. I mean, this guy is just he's like the most coach player I've ever seen. Like his game knowledge of top lane, I think would transition really well into coaching. So I'm thinking that his mindset is not only who do I want to be my successor for FlyQuest, but who do I want to work with? right? When I'm eventually a coach for this team, is kind of the mentality that I think he's adopting. And it still sucks that it wasn't Zamudo, but it makes sense if I think you put it under that lens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to derail the Darkzero conversation with Ghost talk, but I mean, you can check out my tweets if you want my opinions on this. I hate this move, dude. I'm so sick of this shit. From oh no, wait, we're just in 5 minutes. I'm allowed to swear. We're allowed to swear on the episode again. We won't get de-algorithm for this. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't think this approach works in North America anymore. Like, I don't understand. I guess I am going to derail and talk about this now. I don't think this approach works in North America. I don't think you can get like a 17-year-old prodigy from Europe and like Bjergsen/Jensen it. I don't think you can like have this guy play out his entire career in North America and you're like, what, gambling he's going to fall in love with the LA lifestyle? Like, what is the plan here? Because Bjergsen and Jensen could be retained here because the teams here were always able to give them rosters that at least on paper could be competitive with Europe or equal or better to the rosters they would get to play on in Europe. They could get more money here, and the viewership was equal or better here. So you could build up a fan base here and, set yourself up for the future. None of those things are freaking true anymore. I just don't understand why would you not expect, and I was calling this for Berserker for forever, and for some reason everybody was calling me crazy. It's like Berserker's going to play out maybe 1.5 contracts, and then he's going to go back to Korea because he's a high-level player, and it's like, what have we accomplished, right? We've just like set up a main character in this league, and everybody who's a Berserker fan is now just like left out to dry and feels nothing for the fucking LTA. I don't get where this is going to go.
I personally think that it's... Go ahead. To me, it's the reason why I want him on, I would want a player like him on FlyQuest is because I really think that on top of having mediocre performances, the bottom 4 teams are not good at fostering new talent.
Sure.
Right? Like, and I'm going to use an example here of Surdy, right? Like, Surdy obviously, is a really good player, but I do not think Dig are personally handling him as well as I think people were expecting. Like, Surdy was expected to come in and bitch slap everybody because that's the insane expectation we have for rookies from North America nowadays, is that they can just immediately compete with Koreans like Thanatos, which are unrealistic. But still, the last thing I want to see
another player in that camp, by the way, another player who won't be here in 2027. So what are we even doing?
And it's one of those things where the reason why I'm so happy that Yuji is going to Team Liquid is not just because he's getting his shot in the LTA. It's because he's getting his shot in a team that actually knows how to harbor talent and knows how to build him up. Like, I think they did a really good job with APA. I think they did a even better job with Jan. I think Jan is by far the best player on Team Liquid right now, better than legends of the scene like Core and Impact. He's performing the best on that team, and he's one of the best data carriers in the league. And so Team Liquid's ability to manage players like that, I think, has been proven over the course of the past couple of years. Dig's reputation for handling new players is shitty. It's awful. And so that's why I was so sad to see Surdy go to someone like Dig, because I know that his potential is going to be wasted and people are going to shit on him, even when it might not be his fault, even when he's not getting the resources he needs. And so the last thing I ultimately want is for the, Zamudo, for Zyko, for Sajed, for Spyrex, if any of them were to promote to the LTA, I just don't want them to go to those lower tier teams because they don't know how to properly foster them.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The reality, though, is that they will be going there.
And that's what makes me so mad. Everyone is saying they're going to go to DSG, and I'm like, well, fuck, just keep them in the NACL at that point.
I think that's fine. I think that's fine to a certain degree, because first and foremost, if you're going to take them away from the team that looks like most likely to be contesting against you already, which is Darkzero, then I feel like they're already kind of making your lives much easier, because there's no other Darkzero at the very least for now. So kind of making it easier for you already there. And then the other thing that I will also say here is that I'm at the very least glad Big has not yet thrown anyone under the bus just yet. Like it looked like they were going to throw people away, and at the very least, so far
they have before Capuchungas.
they have 100% true. But we're 28th of April. Just yet they have not done that, and I'm glad at the very least they are giving 30 and Shaden some more time, and Tom as well. But like we have to wait and see what ends up happening with them. I was also going to mention it's funny that everyone says that the Niles thing was about like the last dance, about them being potentially they will move to like any LTA, and not considering that maybe Psycho just leaves because he was finishing like his masters or something like that, and they just changed support. No.
Yeah, but
Like,
you
Well, I mean,
he would play.
they probably knew at that point that Yuji had probably already figured something out.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
down to
well,
leave,
and
but
also
it's just really funny that it's all the assumption is going to LTA, and not that maybe one of the players just graduates and
well,
that's
if it was
like,
if it
could be
wasn't
as well.
going to LTA, then the last dance would have been C-Law. Is the
Yeah, it would have been.
so I think the
Yeah.
I think
True
the
as well.
significance of Niles bringing it up at NACE is that it implies that they will not be playing together at C-Law finals, which will be in like
Which is
in 3 weeks.
Which I am going to be really sad about when I go there. Just
Yeah.
flexing that I'm going to Raleigh. See you guys there if any of you are coming.
So that's what that is the sucker punch of this whole thing. Well, maybe not sucker punch. That's like the bitter aftertaste of these moves for me for Darkzero and Maryville, because
Dragon
this couldn't
Seal.
have. This could. Thank you, Quax. This couldn't have happened at like a more inopportune time for like Maryville as a whole. And I know there's been some people, a lot of people within this college and organization have expressed their issues as like, we really had to get these LTA poaches potentially coming through when they have CeeLo to play for. They are the favorite to play for promotion into LTA. It's going to get derailed there. Not saying that obviously the light roster isn't going to be competitive, and we'll talk more about that later. But
Yeah.
CeeLo, NACL, like all of this is like the busiest time of the year for Maryville.
And now
as a
he's
college.
getting poached.
And now they're getting poached. So it's what makes it so melancholy for me, and I understand why within Maryville there are some frustrations, because they are the team to beat right now in CeeLo. From what I've seen in CeeLo and all the chaos that's been going on, I really only thought there was one team that had maybe a chance to challenge them. Like Ole Miss is the only team right now that I think looks good enough to like maybe it's a maybe still. But now CeeLo's going to be completely up in the air. You're opening the door for like near airport and Luminosity to try and scrap their way back into that promotion spot later down the line in the summer. It stinks.
Just give it over to fucking your airport at that point. Like, listen, I want to kind of give I put an analogy to Darkzero potentially promoting. I think it's like very akin to like the ship of Theseus thing, where it's like if you strip away the players, is it really the same team that found all that success? Like if we're gonna be seeing poach after poach, player after player from the team that was so successful leave, then is there really a point in promoting that org when all the players that made it successful are on other teams that are frankly more stable? That's my biggest worry with this thing, and I really hope it's not a continuing trend as the years go by, because then it would be a horrible look for promotion and relegation.
Yeah, so that's where, I mean, I kind of come at this on the opposite. I share frustrations, but I think I'm frustrated from like the opposite end of the issue that Slayer is, right? I think for C-Law, it's kind of like, what can you do, right? Like, I mean, it's, you can't really put C-Law at a different time of year. I think it's really tough to tell these guys, hey, you can't, you're locked into your college semester. You can't go pro. Like, I think that's a really tough kind of issue to solve. And the other aspect of it is, and I know like Clerky has been open that he's like very frustrated about this and he really wants to win C-Law, and it's kind of a unique position for Maryville too, who have been like the best team for so many years but haven't won a C-Law in like half a decade. It's like a uniquely weird position for them, where it's just like, despite being the best collegiate program, bar none, sorry, they are, they just haven't been able to put it together for the actual championship in quite a while. So I get that it's kind of a unique situation for them. But, like, on the other hand, though, like, Clerky is also turning around and retweeting the UG to TL tweet and being like, "Hey, this is the school to go to if you want to go pro." Like it's like it's at least somewhat of a boon back to the team as like a marketing exercise.
Bunch of the teams are holding tryouts.
Yeah,
now.
it's like it's I think it's still good for Maryville even though it does cost you the title. And it's like I don't know how you could set this up in a way that is not like near predatory to the players where like they cannot they have to play through their CLOL championship, otherwise the collegiate program might not get the glory it's entitled to. Like that's a really rough setup. What makes me more mad though is not the Maryville angle, it's the Darkzero angle. It's the it's the esports organization competing in the NACL that is being completely eradicated by their own competition, assuming that these rumors do go through and these players do go to Disguised. This is the team that was going to relegate Disguised in a couple of months when the promotion tournament comes around, and Disguised is going to get to just completely tear their roster limb from limb halfway through this season.
That's so shitty. Like people need to call that out.
I disagree with that though, because like this is a point that I made so long ago when talking about development in North America, particularly, is that there's a mistake that the development in North America is similar or it's worked in the same way that they do with American sports, and it's realistically done in the way that it's done with international sports. And this is the reality of it. It's that in other sports you can just pick someone up from any other team in the world at any point, and it's not going to matter because like there's no luck there, or obviously there's certain rules, but there's no like straight up luck to the players like there is with collegiate into professional play, because like you have to first finish collegiate and then you can go into professional play in American sports, right? But like that's not the case in international sports, and that's the case here. There's no luck, or there's no like just locking you into finishing one before you can go to the other. And that's why it doesn't really matter that you're in collegiate. Pro play is pro play. That's the end goal of everyone. So like as long as there's no luck like that and no way to make it so that it works like that, which there never will be because no other league operates like this. There's no other league in the world that has a collegiate system. No other region that has a realistic like collegiate system. Then it just simply it's never going to be the case, and we're going to see this multiple times if collegiate becomes important. This is going to always keep on happening because like at the end of the day, it's going to all be a pipeline for pro, and the pipeline means that everything below that just simply feels like something that gets sacked eventually, or not sacked, but
it pales in comparison.
Yeah, exactly, and it's the same for NACL. It doesn't matter if you have the team, but it's the rest part. Now, I wanted to mention as well on the DSG thing, because that's also something that sadly happens in international sports. Like your competition, like you may be going against them eventually, but they can take your player if they are allowed to, and that player will play against you, and that may have been your best player ever.
The players can say no. Honestly, like
it depends on the players.
I feel like there is a realistic world where like where Darkzero just say, you know what, like fuck it, like you're probably stronger if we just stay together on this org.
But here's the thing for Darkzero. You have the option of either, like, because now Yuji is gone, right? So you can still play together, but in a quote-unquote weaker roster compared to where you were before because there's no Yuji 100%. Or you can go to DSG, and I feel like this is going to be worst for Sayed particularly because if they go to DSG, there's already Scary Jerry. So like 4/5 of the Dragon Steel roster from last year can play together once again, and because they already have Scary Jerry, and now you're adding on to that an already good jungler, which was the second best jungler last year in the. I'm sorry if I forgot because I'm maybe like blanking, but it's XU, right? I'm just sorry if I'm blanking, but DSG's jungler is
DSG's
right?
jungler is XU, yes.
XU, yeah. So you're playing with the second best NACL jungler from last year plus the best NACL roster from last year. I feel like you take that bet 100% of the time if you're going to play without one of your players that made your team as strong as it was.
I mean, I think that Yuji made the team strong, but I do think, like I said this, I don't know if it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, how I kind of picture it is Darkzero without Yuji, I think is like is still a top 3 team. They're probably not number 1, but they're still top 3. Darkzero without Zamudo and Yuji is probably like 5th, or 4th, right? I don't think they cracked the top 3. So I still think the team is really strong. I mean, my biggest question is just like, when does that whole Yuji thing go into effect, right? Like, when is he going to be officially on Team Liquid? Because I mean, the rule, or not rule necessarily, but like I guess idea would be that he is there for summer, right? And if he's there for summer, then they can ride out spring. But we'll see.
So there's always the chance that he does get in a few games here and now, right? Because like the season still, how many actually matches are there left in the season in this part of the season? I think there's 2 more.
For
3 more?
LTA.
For LTA, yeah, I was thinking for LTA.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
three
they're in
more.
groups.
No,
they're in
like
group-
not counting
just started
finals.
best
I
of
mean not counting like playoffs. I mean group stage.
I think there's a few more weeks left.
Okay, so
think,
at the very least, so yeah, at the very least, 3 more matches. I can see a world where if TL already has secured something, like and I mean, stand wise, they can try and play UG once to see how like first stage game with the team goes, and then after that decide if that can be like something they want to continue with or something that they would wait until summer. Because remember Shaden when they played EG, they gave him like 1 or 2 games before going into it, and they just immediately went into playoffs with Shaden.
Well, that's because that's because the EG roster Shaden like got exploded because EG
yeah, but
was...
TL is still in a better. Well, they are better in that sense, but at the same time, is still fine with this sort of place where they are right now. That's the main question mark, right?
I think they should be.
I don't think
Are they though? Because they are still 4th. Like they are 4th right now with MT at the level they are. So I think they would be willing to try something and see if it works.
I don't think
For
you make
MSI.
this. I don't think you make this change now if you're not going to play UG very soon.
Yeah, I agree.
You could have very much waited this out until summer and try to make a big push in summer to get TL back to Worlds. But TL are doing this and saying that UG. They're bringing in UG now to compete now, and UG will be able to fix problems now.
It's 2025 MSI format. You're either first place or you don't go.
And that's such a shitty position, I think, to put him in, because this, to me, I mean, this is nothing new that Team Liquid have done, sadly. Like, they literally did this a couple of years ago when Harry was booted in favor of APA, right? APA was brought in for, like, summer. They were like, all right, APA, we really want to make Worlds, buddy. Don't let us down. And luckily they made Worlds. I mean, they got 03, but they still made the event. But, like, the expectation put onto UG to make MSI and then subsequently Worlds, I think is, like, to me, it's hard to eat your cake, and it's hard to, like, have your cake and eat it too, where you want to develop this player, but simultaneously have crazy results. Because it's just a question of long versus short term. And I do think that this move was made in a time frame where the short term is more important than the long term. And that's not what I want at the end of the day for a lot of our talent. Like, I would rather them be just developed and not necessarily have to worry about internationals as hard. And maybe that's a shitty thing of me to say, but hey, you know, I care about the players. So yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that you know, UG can handle it. I think he can. He's a really good player. We've been expecting this guy to be an LTA for so long now, and I'm honestly, like, if nothing else, I'm just happy for the goddamn guy because it's long overdue.
For sure. All right. Well, I think that's a good conversation about the Darksteel Darkzero guys as they move up potentially. You know, we'll see if we get more word than just UG here. I'm pretty high on UG for TL though. I think he will be slotting into that team very, very well. I'm not very concerned about how he will adapt to the LTA level. I think he's been a super, super high level player for a very long time. He's been in an academy for 4 years now, and he's been ready for the last 2 at least. So I'm ready to see this guy on the main stage and see what he's got to show everybody. With that said, Darkzero do run the Darkzero Light roster, which may become the main Darkzero roster, depending on how much of the current Darkzero roster get moved on up into the LTA. And even regardless, right? Because I mean, it's as has kind of been the open opinion. Spring for NACL doesn't especially matter, other than for prize pool, which is already pretty small. So they're willing to take a week against NA and throw in the Darkzero Light guys. I think they perform admirably, and somehow so does like Reddit. Like I was shocked to go into the post-match thread and see for the first time like some non-piss opinions about NA Dev.
Yeah.
Like everybody is just like, yeah, these guys did pretty well up against NA.
The pissed opinions are in Twitch chat.
I will also say I think this is a really cool benchmark for Near Airport, because we saw this team when these guys were still under the Pulse banner. Ferris and I got to cast a scrim between Near Airport and, at the time, Polestar that was running this team, and it was like 4-1 in favor of Pulse. Like they were stomping them in most of the games, and now Near Airport get them with a 2-0. I will say this was a really I agree with those Reddit comments, which is not something you're going to hear me say very often on this podcast, by the way, because fuck those guys. But really good look, particularly from Kryra and Toasty, and I think it's even more impressive that those two were the shining lights in that series when you factor in that Near Airport's best players are their mid jungle. Right, so like Kryra and Toasty still managing to do good against, you know, the best mid laner and then probably the second best jungler. I would say Speak is lower than UG in my opinion.
It's close.
Like that to me is really promising. So I do think that like if Kryra replaces Yuji on Darkzero, because Yuji is now on Team Liquid, confidence in the performance. I've been super high on Kryra for a long time, and I'm excited. I also think the rest of the team did good, but like just a specific limelight on the mid jungle, I think, for that series is warranted.
Yeah, those two played quite well. I do think that for no practicing, but for a no game time team that has barely played at all NACL, just this one game going against what we thought was the top 3 last week as well, I feel like a pretty good showing. So one of the few things that I will say is that I was disappointed that they weren't able to get one game. I really thought they could game one game down, but it was also just so close.
Game one was crazy.
2-1. Yeah, like it could have been 2-1 if they were able to with either of the games. But I do think that at the end, Near Airport actually, like you were mentioning, showed their improvement a lot, because most of the times, or like remembering that CCG series, I feel like there were desperation moments in that series that really weren't felt at all when you look at this matchup. This was more calm and collected, something that I was expecting from a veteran team, and it really showed at the end of the day in that sense. And I am sad though that we didn't get that chance to see, because now we probably will never get it actually, to see Darkzero actual roster against NA or actual roster. Like now we never will get it.
I mean, if you looked at the scrims from Double Lift, I mean, I watched the Maryville versus Near Airport script, so I mean that's probably the best you're going to get. Just quick note. That game one kind of depressed me. Like it was very back and forth until like 24 minutes. And then Near Airport win the soul fight. They get the soul, they get the Baron, and the game ends literally 4 minutes, like less than 4 minutes later. Like it went from extremely even, and then just you blink and you miss, and suddenly Near Airport are up 1-0.
And I mean, and you got to remember too, right? So that's a game they get a 4 dragon soul, right? They get the soul on the 4th dragon that game. But they also like first dragon is a flash bramble smash steal from Spica. I think the 3rd dragon is a steal from Spica in a skirmish fight, and then the final dragon is a secure on a 50-50 from Spica. So Spica wins 3 smite fights on 4 out of those 4 dragons. They get 1 uncontested.
I'm sure he wins the smite fight all
which I mean,
long,
you know, it's a skill, right? I'm not gonna act like it's literally. I'm not gonna act like it's a literal coin flip, but I think you play that game out in the exact same way 30 times, think 20 plus of them, they probably don't get the soul on that 4th dragon, and then the game goes on longer.
I mean,
so
that last one is a coin flip. It does virtually become a coin flip when you 50-50 as hard as that one.
Yeah, I mean, Bramble Smash Smite is a combo. It's good.
That's a combo.
It's it's not like it's
It's not like a
and
Callista,
Spica's
you
good
blow
at
up a
it, right?
Callista Rend,
Spica's quick with his hands, quick with his eyes. He's good smiter.
It does come down to that's what I'm trying to say is like sometimes with those 50-50s, like it does come down to like ping and stuff, like ping and server stuff too.
Yeah,
so.
and it's like you can't. Yeah, I mean, it's like you
online.
can't. It's just not a thing. You can't put that in a scouting report,
You can't.
You can't be like, oh man, this guy wins the 50-50 smite. It's
yeah,
not a jump ball.
The reason we're not
man.
picking
you
up,
just
Kryra,
like,
is because you can't smite for shit.
Yeah,
I mean, if that was the case, then Pioshik would be like at McDonald's as we speak. But
yeah, it's just not. Yeah, it's like
I will say, watching DNF, he should, but like
he should. He fucking should.
Asterisk,
Yep,
I will
that
not
guy's
mention
a
anymore.
fraud. Pioshik is more washed than my goddamn laundry. It's crazy.
Yeah, listen, it's not a skill, right? It's not expressive, but it's also just like not replicatable consistently enough to be like what you bet the game on. So there's a reason that teams that flip there's a reason that there's never been a team that's like, oh, we flip 50-50 objectives every time and our jungler just always wins it. Like there's never been a team like that. That's not a legitimate way to play League of Legends.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, just thinking. Sorry for the like the asterisk here as well, but I was just thinking of 50-50s, and I just remember the fact that this weekend, like, there was the TS against JDG, and I just died laughing at that. That was hilarious, by the way.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I got a front row seat to that one.
That was hilarious. That was great, by the way.
Oh boy.
That is that. I think this was a similar conversation that me and Trouble had on that cast. Is that like once Kanavi gets over the wall, that one actually was funny because we were talking about it the same way. We're like, sometimes 50-50s happen and somebody wins the flip, and then we watch the replay and Kanavi smites Dragon at 8-9-3. It's just like, should, buddy, should. Yeah. No, this is not a coin flip anymore, my friend. We are 400 health points away from a coin flip. So,
yeah. All right, let's talk about the rest of the NACL week. 2 different teams play 2 games.
Wait, actually, I will just jumping in because technically we were talking about NA. Like, are we going to talk about the fact that NA are changing their bot lane?
Oh yeah, we could.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right.
Just for this week, Kelpo and Sushi will come in.
Kelpo and Sushi.
Let's go,
dude. I don't know a ton about Kelpo, but I know a lot. I know a decent amount about Sushi. And I'm so fucking excited for him. I love Sushi, bro.
Kelpo will draw Enchanter bans. That's likely.
Yeah, he literally said on their little interview that Soraka. Yeah.
Yeah, but just also the bigger enchanters. So it'll be interesting to see how the scouting report changes, knowing Bio's pool and Kelpo. They're definitely very different. So that will be fun.
Yeah, Bio likes his engagers. Kelpo is an enchanter player.
Yeah, but how does that change? I'm kind of curious how that changed also to some of the dynamics. Because if without Bios engages, does that mean that it's Speak and TFLA the ones
it's
that
probably more on Blade,
role,
I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, I personally don't think a lot matters because I mean, you can disagree with me, Double It fanboys, please. I'm an innocent man, but I feel like the bot lane has done probably well, maybe not Bio. I think Bio's done a lot, but like I think Double Lift in particular has not been the biggest catalyst for near.
I'll take a step forward. I don't think he has been top 5 at all so far. Barely top 5.
I don't really think Doublelift has been the most visible of players. I do think though that there's nothing that Near Airport can't, I think, accommodate for. Like I think that Blade can easily be more savvy on the engages. I think that if they need to, they can put Spica on engage duty. I'm sure Kelpo can play engage supports, like probably not his preference, but you make it this high up and you get this job, the ability to sub in for Near Airport, and your resume has to probably be pretty good. So I would imagine Kelpo has the ability to do it. So maybe nothing changes at all. But I think the biggest thing is just that it's a huge opportunity for 2 players that deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the most well versed in Kelpo, so I'm kind of whatever on him. But Sushi, I'm mad excited for, dude. This guy deserves it. This guy's really, really good. He's gonna impress some people on this team, I think. Not the best meta to impress people on for AD carry, so I don't know. I hope he gets an Ezreal game in there or something to show off a little flashiness. I hope he's not just on Misfortune Jin duty all game.
Bro, stop playing Misfortune, teams. If you're listening to this,
it's not gonna happen. It's
stop playing it. Stop playing it.
Don't open this can of worms.
Yeah.
Seriously, no, fuck off. Like, I just nope.
But,
not gonna open it. Just gonna get one worm and flick it.
But
Don't
Viper
play
won with
Misfortune.
Quax. What do you mean?
I've been calling Misfortune a bait champion for weeks now.
Bait.
But
fraud.
anyway, especially because I mean, this team's identity lately has kind of been like TF Blade on the Scions or the Gragas's and stuff, and letting Doublelift do a little bit more, right? He's gotten some Xayah games in there. Lethality Varus, which is whatever to me, but on hit Varus can be fun, that kind of stuff. So I hope that it continues to be those sorts of comps. I think that'll suit Sushi well.
It'll be interesting. I don't. I'll say that for looking ahead. Actually, who
I know we're gonna talk about the teams that played twice this week, but I do want to add.
Go ahead.
This is mean. Okay, I'm being mean a little bit, but I just thought it was kind of like funny to say. So AMI lost this week.
They did.
Church of Low Jazz takes another hit, but Mini is on the Yone again. This is his fourth Yone game and his fourth loss on the champion. He is 0 for 4 on the character with scores of 0-3, 1-3, 1-5, 3-5. Is he going on tour? And where can I buy tickets?
Well, who does he want to play next, Joe? Well, he has Darkzero, so he can pull it off here. It's not like it's gonna matter, really. But
look, okay, that was me. We can move on. I just wanted to make the "is he going on tour" joke, but I feel like I have to force it.
What a terrible couple of weeks for AMI scheduling, by the way. They go week 4, they have to play NA. They go week 5, they have to play Luminosity, and then they have to come off those 2 brutal losses into a double week. And who's their double week? They're playing number 2 and number 4. They're playing Darkzero.
Yeah, it's well, okay. In fairness, they got 2 wins, so they're already doing better than some teams. Not naming,
but
names,
they might just. I mean, the 4 loss streak is. Hey,
Church
of Low Jazz, prove me wrong. I think the 4 loss streak's here.
Yeah, you're not getting into the church when the zombies are outside and it's like 28-day style apocalypse. Like, you are not getting in this bitch, Slayer. Like,
it's all right.
They at least will play against the new version of DC.
They'll never get to me.
They get to play at least a match against the Darkzero without their full roster, or maybe actually they do, and who knows?
Yo, if AMI beat Darkzero, I don't even care in what capacity. I just got a haircut. I'll shave it all off. I'm a man of my word. I'm not even fucking with you. I will.
I think it's there's a world where anybody can take a game off CCG. First of all, like CCG can lose at any time to anybody. I think this team is good. I'm pretty high on this team, but they can. The stars can align and they can lose to anybody anytime. They can beat themselves at the drop of a hat.
The thing is that AMI needs to beat them. Like, it's not only like something they should have. Like, they are kind of obligated to do it, because if not, depending on their last matchup, could be life or death, and I don't think you want to go life or death in this sort of a scenario.
All right. Well, I think that's fair. I don't know that they need to win it, right? I mean, first of all, they still get to have their week 7 super week matchup against Blue Otter. That's winnable. But even if they don't, right? I mean, they could finish 8th at 2-6 or 2-7.
Yeah, they're fine.
Do they
they're
have
fine.
head to head against Winthrop, by the way? No,
it doesn't. Head to head probably won't matter. It's game score before it's head to head.
So it's game score. Okay.
Yeah,
they're
4-10 while Supernova's 2-10. So
yeah, I was thinking Winthrop, but you're right.
Supernova unless Supernova and or Polestar start winning series, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just pointing out how brutal of a schedule run that is. They're
Yeah.
fine for the relegation. They should be.
Which I guess
going into that
Supernova will
Super
get to
League.
play Pulse, so they could, if they
No,
like
but
2-0
Yo,
Pulse.
guys,
I was going to say,
who would-
schedule-wise, Winthrop has a horrible schedule, by the way.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, guys, who would win though? 100 Pull Stars or one
Oh my
On
god, do
Winthrop?
not bring this
Dark
stupid
Zero?
tabling
I'm just
that.
saying, if you want my opinion, audience, 100 humans could totally take a gorilla.
All right.
Yes, 100 humans could take a gorilla. Oh god, we're opening the
100%.
can.
I'm
of
not
worms,
gonna weigh in on this.
100%.
All right, let's
Oh,
get
God.
let's get into let's
Let's
get
talk
into
about the
teams that
double,
played
the
twice.
two. Yeah, teams
Yeah.
that played twice.
Teams
So
that played
Blue
twice.
Otter
I'm excited to
Conviction.
talk about Conviction here, right? Because we had a little
Yes.
debate last week about Conviction because they
True,
had just
you guys did.
beaten some really weak on paper teams. They had beaten AMI and Supernova, and then they had lost to some really good teams. They had lost to Near Airport and Darkzero, so
Yep.
it was a little up in the air as to what they would actually look like. I feel pretty vindicated this week. They take a 2-1 over Blue Otter. They take a 2-0 over Winthrop, and they now find themselves at 4-2, which is a pretty respectable record.
Yeah.
Feeling good about Conviction here, guys. I think they play solid League of Legends this week. I think Kisno especially is finally showing me that consistency that I've always wanted from him. That he's been able to show at the Tier 3 level, but hasn't really been able to show at the Tier 2 level. I think he's been playing pretty well, and I think the other highlight player for me is Darkwings, who's been rock solid. I think this is his best split ever so far. I think his Hui in that game 3 against Blue Otter especially.
That won the series.
MVP stuff.
That was
so
yeah.
good.
I think for Conviction it's just like checking a lot of boxes for like successful season. I think the vibes on this team are awesome. I think they have a really a very unique coach. I'm a big fan of how Bach approached drafts and understanding his players' strengths. And then I think you're getting the ceilings out of, or I don't want to say you're getting the ceilings. You're getting raised floors or like whatever you want to say. Peak gameplay now from a lot of these guys who have been bouncing around Tier 3, Tier 2, right? Like Hoarder has answered the call at points in this season. Chrome, Aaron was very, very good for Conviction. One of the better 80 carries out of the top ones we talked
Had a
about.
sick Ezreal game this week, yeah.
Yeah, this week and earlier on, like he was getting player of the game MVPs for Conviction Series wins now it's Darkwings, like you're talking about. He's stepping up. When all this stuff combines, this is what happens for teams, and it's cool to see. In Conviction, keep it up, and we're gonna have some fun conversations about this team in playoffs.
Oh, and you know what? Also, we got to give him props just because he's been a punching bag on this podcast for a while. Manui,
That's a good point.
Such a sick series
Yeah.
against Winthrop from him. Poppy, Alistair, both games, tremendous. I think we were asking that question right at the beginning of the season. We kind of had that kind of question about during our power rankings about Conviction, like. What does role swap Manui bring to this team? Like, how much better is he really going to be than a Skytech or like a pick whatever kind of middling support that we don't expect much out of, that has played in the NACL previously? And the answer is that he brings a lot more. I think he's got a relatively unique pool. I think this Poppy support is just absolutely nutso on the patch. By the way,
Poppy has been like really good for a while. She got nerfed. I think Bloodsong got nerfed or something, and people were like, "Holy fucking shit!" Poppy and all of these other aggressive. So this was like the same time where like Camille was really good in the support role. Remember that? Yeah, Poppy's fucking shit now. No, Poppy is really good. I'm surprised that more teams aren't picking up on this character because still really strong, especially with the Ignite buffs. I think that Ignite supports are going to be that much more lethal. So I'm interested to see that adaptation going forward.
More than they were before already.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like heal supports were more favored in my opinion. Like every support and their mother was running heal for the longest time, if you remember that. Every 80 carry is still running barrier, by the way. When are we going to do something about that?
Kazakh's main spotted.
Yep.
Dude, yo, shield. Yo, I'm like, I don't know that. There's like that one streamer clip. I don't remember who it was, but this one streamer was like, I'm shooting shields. I am shooting shields. It was in like Apex, and that's how I feel playing the game. I haven't played the game in a while, but like that's how I feel playing the game right now. Lulu, barrier, fucking every jungler and their mother is running green pet. Shields on shields on shields on shields on shields. Let's buff Ivern. He has shields.
He does.
You don't
Yeah,
like
no,
Ivern more?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's just
I've earned my right to complain about that shit, by the way. But
that was a good one. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just exposure, or maybe it's the patch, or maybe it's just Poppy. I don't know. But she's been really in my eyes lately. I don't know. Manui has a sick Poppy game.
Yo, what the fuck?
Somebody else in the NACL has a sick Poppy game. I don't remember who exactly it was. I watched fucking Pentius have a sick Poppy game in ACL. I watched, I don't even remember his name, but the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy at St. Louis busted out a nutso Poppy game to knock UCI out of the tournament. Everybody's playing Poppy support, and they're all just absolutely taking over the game. I've seen so much Poppy in my feed these past couple of days.
Maybe it is the answer. The answer is just pick Poppy and win the game.
I guess so, dude. That seems that's what
happening in LPL too. It's LPL series wins or Poppy supports. I've seen it. From
I don't know. Every time I turn on League of Legends, every time I get on the mic the last week, it's been a Poppy just absolutely running the game.
It's always at the end of series too. Like it's like such a flex, like to win game 3s or game 4s.
And it gets ignored so much as well. So yeah, makes complete sense that. I will pivot quickly to Minui because I want to say I feel like he was in the wrong place at the wrong time for a lot of his career. He shouldn't have been an AD carry. I will just put it out there. He wasn't designed to be an AD carry. He should have been a support from the start. Maybe a mage player in the mid lane, but he should have been 100% a support. His positioning and idea to play the game was good. His pool was never an AD carry pool. And he was never the sort of AD carry that you was expecting to be an AD carry. So I think that just moving to support really opened up what his capabilities and his strengths as a player really were. And I am legitimately to the point where I can see him with maybe a year more. With this change, like he can be at the level where Psycho is right now. So like I just hope he sticks with it because I'm legitimately thinking that if he just started his career as a support player, maybe he could have been like the next LTA bound player, like for a little while now, because he is that much better as support than he is as an AD carry. To be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I am also really high on Manui. I mean, the player for Conviction though that I feel like deserves like a lot of praise. Honest, and we've been talking about Conviction, so I'll keep it short. I'm still really impressed with Hoarder. Like this guy is just straight up making a case for being the undisputed rookie of the split. Like no one thought that Conviction was going to make it very far. I mean, there were people that thought Conviction was going to make it far, but 4th place is kind of looking like where this team is going to be ballpark. They'll probably be fighting CCG for that. I think those teams play like near the end. Like one of the last
they play last week. The last match for both of them is 100% is them.
That will 100% decide who is 4th and 5th. Those two teams both look really good.
It's Rookie of the Split's still a tight race between a Hoarder and TF Blade for me. I do have TF Blade moving above Aojun for me. Or sorry, I have Hoarder moving above Aojun
TF Blade just a little bit.
I don't know. I think I mean this is a fucking time-old debate where it's like, what does MVP mean to you? And haven't we had it before? So
we have
different
opinions. We'll talk about
it
at the end of the season. But I mean, I don't even think I have to like move into some weird. I don't even have to care about like the win-loss ratio. I think to lean TF Blade.
Yeah.
He's a totally different player than he was in solo queue. I think he's adapted to comp very uniquely and very effectively. We'll have more of those conversations as time goes on. The other team that plays 2 series this week, they only win one of them, but I think they look good in both of them, is Blue Otter. And I think this is, despite going 1-1, overall game record 3-2 in their favor, I think this is a huge, especially the Supernova series, huge get-right week for Blue Otter. They look like Blue Otter of last split again. And
yo, who knew that when you put music on like a champion that he can actually have agency and carry on? shit works. I'm telling you, man, this team transforms when music is on a more highly prioritized jungle pick. Like
that is not Viego, by the way. That is not Viego, please. Just not Viego.
I mean,
that was bad.
But I mean, like, dude, like, I seriously, like a brain cell in me dies when I see music on like Sejuani or Maokai Duty. I just get very depressed. Like it's January, February, you know, no light, the sun goes down early. It's that all over again. But then when he's actually on Carry Champions, my house is back, my car is back, my girlfriend is back. My like student loans are up and running. I got a scholarship, I got a job, like everything is great. It's literally that one like Ryan Gosling meme where he's like depressed and sad, and that is like how it feels when music is on and off carries.
I don't know. I think he can play both.
He can, but the team is clearly more effective with one than the other.
It's hard though because a lot of these carry junglers that I know he wants to play, it's hard to justify them in draft knowing his solo lanes. Like, I guess part of the reason why he can't play Sejuani is I think, you know, Samikin doesn't really play the Yone, so I feel that takes away some Sejuani pride. But like Quacker, you know, his pool isn't very like tank oriented. It's hard to justify a lot of AD junglers knowing Samikin's pool. I think the Lilia is a really big spot for him. Like you're talking carry, like he can play the Lilia really, really well. But knowing how the guy works and the voice he is in the Blue Water comms, I still think that he can pull off a pretty good Maokai game and lead his team, or pull off a pretty good Skarner game and lead his team.
Well, some of this debate comes down to like what do you consider Xin Zhao, who's like halfway between those two roles.
I think Xin Zhao's just can I say broken for both of them?
Sure,
but like the problem for that for me comes from Levitate though, because I feel like if your carry is not going to be like not playing the role of the carry, but like if your carry is not going to be your carry, to put it like that, then you're kind of forced into a situation where you have to play the carry yourself. And this isn't like trying to mean that Levitate is the only problem, because I feel like the problems for me this year have been Levitate and Quacker more so than Samiking, really. And it comes down from, I feel like their performances did fall down a little bit, but I just also think that their champ pools have been impacted a little bit as well. Like I haven't like felt the same impact from Quacker so far in general, especially because he was one of those players that if you give him red side, he has some tools to like pull something out of nowhere from red side, and he like can counter you really effectively. And then from blue side, he just has felt really blind picky and nothing out of the ordinary, to also say it like that. And then Levitate has just been I don't want to say it, but like I just feel bad because last year I really was impressed with him, but it just has been straight up bad, sadly. And I feel like for your team, if you want to play with someone as cerebral as Music in its most effective manner, you need to have the backing of the AD carry to be strong enough so that he can do whatever he wants. Because if he's forced into a spot where he has to play, let's say he plays Xin Zhao or he plays Viego again, right? But then your AD carry is lacking damage, and the rest of the team is not really backing you up that effectively. The only source of damage is Samikin playing a mage in the mid lane, and you're not really having that extra value coming in from your other AD threats. Because it's fine if he cannot play the Yone, right? If Samikin doesn't play the Yone, that's okay. If you're able to, at the very least, have backing from a physical damage dealer elsewhere. But if that then falls into your jungler, that will not be able to be more aggressive because he can get picked up and die, and then you also don't have the backing from either the AD carry or the top laner in this sense, then it just feels like there's not a lot of tools for them to really run off in multiple situations. And that has happened in multiple games where they may have been in the driver's seat, but one mistake where then Levitate cannot carry the game out because he's not really playing up to his standards, it makes it much more difficult for them to really play it out. And I feel like it's just, sadly, so far, I feel like it's just level from the players that really have disappointed me compared to like just general play style.
Yeah, I agree that I don't think it's like, yes, Music is like 0% win rate on tanks this season, but he's also like 3 games on tanks this season, right? He's got one Poppy game, one Skarner game, one Sejuani game. And then he's got one Vi game they lost. He's 1-for-3 on Xin Zhao games. And everything else is pretty much carries, right? I mean, he's lost a Lilia game, he's undefeated on Defiri, and he's 2-for-3 on Viego. So, and I mean, that's his split. So it's not. I don't think it's that they haven't given him any carries. I agree that when they have gone into the tanks department, it hasn't worked. But I mean, I think the Levitate criticism is valid. I really think everybody but Music has really not been showing up so far this split, and that's why I'm very impressed with. That's why I feel like this was a big get right week for Blue Otter. I think everybody looks more like how I wanted them to look this week. Like Quacker is getting back to the pocket picks. He's got that Shen.
Yes,
the Shen.
Bro. More teams need to play that. More teams need to play that champ, by the way. I'm going to just interject. I think Shen is broken as shit. He's getting buffed as well. His character has gotten buffed like 4 fucking times in a row, and no top laner wants to play him. I don't know why. He's really strong.
I know why, but like you won't like the answer, Quack. But I know why.
Because he's boring.
No, because no Korean has played it yet. That's the real reason.
Oh, true.
That's the real reason.
Yo, unironically, TDS is a ball knower.
That is
never mind.
That is some ball knowledge right there. Yeah, but I mean, so yeah, Quacker. I mean, he plays 3 games. He played 3 games of the Shen last summer playoffs, by the way. So he's like keeping that pocket pick going. He's 3-0 on it this season. Feels like a real pick for this team now that you probably need a ban. Wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some Shen bans directed towards Blue Otter because they look so good on that. Levitate finally looks decisive. Rovax looks like he's 3 steps ahead of everybody. Like he'll be in the middle of nowhere and you'll be like, what is this guy doing? And it'll actually set up a really strong play. I think everybody's looked quite good. I think it's Rovax who has the other good Poppy game that I was thinking of in NACL. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Rovex is a good Poppy game, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Music's been good all along, but I feel like his teammates kind of showed up and they played the way that they've been wanting to play for probably the first time this season. This week, they have I think they have a good showing against Conviction. They do really well against Supernova, and Supernova, by the way, I thought played pretty well. Also, I thought that was like Supernova's first week where they've like Keel's invade plans have been like working and generating leads instead of just inting the entire game. So it feels backhanded to say that Supernova played well in this series where they get 2-0 by Blue Otter, but I do think that was one of Supernova's better showings in this series where they get 2-0 by Blue Otter.
But for Supernova, though, that is important, like thinking about it, because the remaining schedule is actually one of the weaker ones, so they needed to get back on track in some way, even if it's after a loss.
I'm just glad to see for the Levitate stuff because this is the guy that's coming off Rookie of the Split. Yeah. He is a very clear, like, the guy that pops the most for Blue Otter. You've got, like, Music is going to be the floor raiser. You know what you're getting out of Quacker and Samikin. It's really Levitate that always, takes this team over the edge. And I've been impressed by how the honest and critical he's been able to be with himself when he got the interview. And yeah, the decisiveness is there. I mean, in the series, the guy has 2 deaths and 15. He goes 15, 2, and 12. That is an awesome stat line for AD carry, especially playing a Kaisa game where you're just jumping in and throwing down. So if Levitate can be that guy that takes them over the top, knowing what the rest of the guys do to raise the floor of Blue Otter, this is where this team is at its best, and that's just the nature of AD carry, especially right now. So good to see. And Blue Otter's always been a team that really plays off momentum. It starts winning scrim blocks. Now it's them winning divisive series in the NACL, and they know how to run, ends of regular season splits and into playoffs when nobody thinks they're going to. They have the formula. It's all the same players. It's all about just getting everything to start clicking back in place. And we'll see this week if that was really the one series that sparks the run, because there's always teams that you can look back and with hindsight 2020, you look at one series and say that's what started the run. We could talk about that with the old EG run all the way back when we were first on the Salt Mine talking about it. We could talk about it with the Blue Otter run. I could go back and find one series and pinpoint you and tell you that's what turned everything around. The question for Blue Otter now is, was this Supernova series the one that did it?
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, I think that it's a bit dishonest to say that Blue Water are so Baroque because I think that Supernova have also not been performing particularly admirably in the NACL. I think that Blue just I don't know because who do they play next week? They don't play next week.
They play next week.
Yeah,
they play
have
near airport. They play the Sushi New Airport.
Okay, well,
which that's beatable already.
Well, then Lamau.
They play half of
XD.
Near Airport, so let's see how they do.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like, that already at the very least is much better than playing straight up Near Airport.
Well, there's also so they added Cody's son as a sub this week.
Bro,
I don't.
Yeah,
we're not
that's
even going to talk about that. But well, we'll talk about this, right? If they run Cody's son against Near Airport running Sushi, that becomes a very interesting bot lane matchup. I think very fast. Like Cody's son, the last time he played in this league was very, very good. Personal opinions of him aside.
It looks like he at the very least like keeps up 100% with the game, so it's not like he's going to be super washed for them if they do end up playing him. I don't think they will, but if they do, could be kind of funny as well. Would have been hilarious to see the double lift against Cody's son just for Battle of the Old Times, I guess. Could have been kind of funny to see that as well.
Fucking Cody's son. Anyway, yeah, so that's Blue, that's Conviction. Any other notes on NACL, gentlemen?
I think that's about a clean hour. I think we can get into ACL unless anybody has any burning NACL points.
The last thing I would say is
I have one more.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say this is going to be a big test for CCG this week, as that fourth place team that's looked really good. We're going to be able to test the whole floor ceiling conversation with them because they play LG and AMI in 1 week. So we're going to see, can they really compete against contenders for the split victory in the playoffs, and do they play down to competition against teams like AMI?
I think both series go to 3 games. That's going to be my bet.
Yeah, makes sense. I was just going to mention that this week it's gonna be fun seeing like the essentially the fight for who's going to remain as a collegiate team in NACL. Well, depending on the results, obviously, but that the S and Supernova Winthrop matchup is going to be kind of funny because if Supernova lose that, I think they're pretty much doomed. Well, actually, not that much, but they are near doomed depending on other results if they lose that much. So gonna be a fun one. And also Winthrop gets saved if they win that because they would make 3 victories, and I think 3 should be enough to keep you alive.
Bro,
it's to be a big one.
I like okay. If I didn't have if I didn't have an excuse previously to root against Winthrop, now I do because they fucking.
Hey, you're joining my train, Quax.
No, because it's more personal than your train now because they fucking demolished my college in a best of 5 in Sealol. So now it's extremely personal. Fuck you, Winthrop. In game. I'm sure you guys are great.
Respect it.
In game.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move over to ACL. So unfortunately, we do not have the matchups for this week yet. We're recording this on the 28th. There's still games that people are going to play tomorrow, so we can't get the full Swiss matchups until we kind of know those last couple of matches. So it looks like what's left to play. Bikini Bottom Warriors, Next Level Esports is left to play. Dorado, Supernova Dark Matter is left to play. And Mint Gaming Novasphere is left to play. So those 3 matchups kind of all do have some bearing. I think the only matchups we really know and we haven't flipped for them yet is we know the 3-0 matchups. So let's start off with that. Let's talk about the 3-0 matchups. Let's see if we because 2 teams are going to qual playoffs here. We have our first 2 playoff quals coming up this week. So it's going to be Citadel versus Prosperity Esports and then Galaxy Gaming versus Legacy Esports to qualify our first 2. Let's start off there, chat about Citadel versus Prosperity here, which it feels like a bit of a mismatch on paper, but there's been some weakness shown by Citadel so far.
Yeah, like I think Citadel should they still should win in my eyes just because name value is quite high occasionally on ACL, and I do think they are still strong enough roster that I would be willing to bet on them being able to pull it off, and especially also like Prosperity for all they've been able to accomplish. I don't think they were a 3-0 team before, and I don't think they are a 3-0 team now. So
I'm kind
just
of on that train as well.
like I think they have done a great job, but I feel like if they are going to qualify, it's not going to be on the 3-0 bracket. It's going to be on a 3-1 bad 3-2. But I just feel like Citadel, for what they've shown, they are still much better as a team in general than Prosperity. Sadly.
So here's my thing.
I agree with that.
I think this might be because Prosperity's been good, right? And I think this might be. I mean, they take 2-1 over Mint, and they take a 2-0 over Desperado, and then they take a 2-1 over Apex Predators. So it's not like they've had the toughest competition in the world. But this might be a cute little spot to reminder to everybody. By the way, get your Swiss Pick'ems in. By EOD Friday, so you probably don't even want to start them until the flips are done and you know all the matchups.
Maybe on Thursday or.
So you're gonna find out all the matchups on Wednesday, I guess.
Okay.
Will be when Duan fully updates the sheet, and then you have until the games start on Friday at 8 Eastern to do your Swiss Pick'ems. So you're probably going to want to wait until Wednesday so you have complete information to try to make the most informed guesses you can. But make sure you get that in, right? Because it's, you know, you wasted your GSL pick'em if you don't do a Swiss pick'em. And even if you didn't do a GSL pick'em, do a Swiss pick'em for funsies. You'll be missing a lot of points, and I doubt you're going to win, but it can still be fun to show off at the end of the day. But a cute little pick'em advantage here could be going for Prosperity, just because. Let's look at what Citadel's done so far, right? They had a 3-game series against CBA5 Wagyu, which is a good 4th seed team, but still a 4th seed team. They had a 2-1 over Zero Animosity, which is a roster that is, you know, relative newcomers. They're on the come up. I've been impressed by them and what they've shown so far. But still, they're not the kind of team you expect to be taking games off Citadel. Neither are CBA5 Wagyu by that note. And then they get an FF in this last week against Tempest. So they've only played 2 series, and they've both gone to 3 games, and they've both been against teams that I would say are worse than Prosperity. So I think you can find an angle here to. I think Citadel are still obviously the favorites, but this might be a cute little upset prediction that I may or may not use to get an edge in pick'ems. I've still got to think about it.
It does sound that at the very least we're getting a 3-game series, so
true.
It could be exciting. Yeah, I'm willing to go for that at the very least.
Definitely, some of their players are also kind of peaking at the right time. Kongji was a huge part of the Nova Nighthawks. I mean, the pinnacle player of their little run in the CLO bracket from coming from community college. So that was pretty cool for Kongji. And I know Solidified's been. I think he is starting to peak on the solo queue ladder. So just small little things that you know can maybe incentivize that upset pick. But Citadel 2-0.
That's gonna be for the first time this season. The other matchup I think is much closer, much cooler. Quax, you already mentioned you want to feature it on Salt Mine. Seems like it's likely that we will. It's Galaxy versus Legacy. Yeah, I think
that is a good one.
Yeah, we probably could do that. I don't see why not. We'll see. If it's the only good match, then I'm probably going to steal it for mainstream. Sorry, not sorry. But as long as we don't do that, then you guys can have it on the Salt Mine. But this looks like it'll be a good game. So Galaxy, of course, is that mostly that same Galaxy roster from OQs. For anybody not paying close attention, it's Cozy, Krakadon, Ariandel, Inori B, and Kim Down. Krakadon being the newcomer to that team, and then Legacy is the ISU squad, like the ISU sub squad largely. Fatakan, the only one who actually started for ISU in their CLOL run.
Well, not anymore.
Well, and yeah, I mean, Fatakan, the only one who started for ISU in their CLOL run, and maybe that's for the best, to be honest, given how that ended up. So that roster, Dragoon, Cross, Command Attack in mid, and Makel, and then Fatakan at support to you know get some of that bad karma off of them for whatever happened in CLOL. that team's been very impressive to me as well. I've seen them play with both NACL and a Josu. They've looked very good with both marksmen. I think Faticon's been very impressive to me at support, so it'll be very cool to see him and whichever AD carry he gets go toe-to-toe with Inori B and Kim Down, who I still feel are like a little bit of a mismatch in the bottom lane. We'll be keeping my eye on them.
Glad that Inori B and Kim Down have taking more time to sort of synergize as a bottom lane.
Same. I'm glad that that's
like,
still going.
They're still playing more like normal duos, right? They're not doing like the Callista lanes, the Draven lanes. It's not like the classic Inori B stuff. It's more like the classic Kim Down stuff.
I think it's also Inori B trying to like open his game up a bit more. I'm just saying in general that they're still playing, like they're getting great reps as a bot lane together. And at this point, they're playing ACL together. They played the OQ together. Because I know it's going to start becoming discussions. I know the registration's just about open for the next OQ, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're like a package deal on whatever team they end up on. I hope that's the goal of them playing this much together to start the year off.
Well, we kind of know now, or no, not know, but with knowing that the OQs are coming up, like a lot of these rosters we have here in the ACL may end up being the rosters in the OQs, because like with how little time there is between actually
we don't know how long it's going to be open. But...
Yeah, actually, do we know OQ's day? OQ start date? Actually,
no. We just know that
we just know when the registration.
Well, maybe not that long, but we do know that at the very least, this is your best chance to show yourself now 100%. Because with OQ's just around the corner, potentially, maybe, then you have to show the best like your best play here. And I think that Inori B and Kim Down are on the path to that. They still probably are not where they would want to. I think that they are trying to be a tad bit better in general, but I've liked what I've seen from them, and I think that they would be in a competitive roster come OQs if they can still perform to how they've been doing so far.
Also, just love I love that a guy like Cross gets to play with these vets in solo lanes. A big fan of Cross is just like, yes, I got command attack mid, I've got Dragoon top. When would you have ever told me that Cross and Cross would have command attack and Dragoon solo lanes? That's a fun little trivia question. And hey, they could be. I mean, they're going to be the focal point if they want to go, continue the undefeated streak. Because you talk about it, I'm with you, Gordo, and Inori B and Kim Down is still a mismatch, no matter how good Fatikan may be looking at support. So. That top side is going to have to be the reason that they win this matchup against Galaxy Gaming.
Yeah, and I just don't see it. I mean, I think Cozy's an NACL level player. I don't think historically I feel like I've not watched Dragoon smash Cozy very much when they've played against each other. And I actually kind of favor the Kraken Ariandel side of the mid-jungle duo fight as well. So I'm going to be going Galaxy Gaming here, I think. Maybe just a little favoritism towards names there, but that's how it be sometimes. I would be surprised if Galaxy doesn't walk away with this one pleasantly. I love this Legacy Esports squad to be able to perform well, but and losing here doesn't mean you're not performing well. Of course, it means you go into the 3-1 bracket and you have another shot to qual. Being 3-0, super favorable position. All four of these teams are in a super favorable position to make playoffs. It would be a big shock if any of these 3-0 teams just drop 4 series in a row and don't make it. So, but yeah, I think Galaxy is going to join likely Citadel as our first 2 playoff teams. Which cool that we're getting playoff teams this early. I mean, it's going to give them a lot of off time. They will play each other in a 4-0 match for seeding next week, just to give them a couple of additional reps. So they'll only get a couple of weeks off. They'll get week 6 off, and then I guess week 7 is played on a Monday. So really, they only end up having to sit out a week. So
a little bit more rest time is
well designed schedule, Duan. Nicely done. Not too much downtime for the best teams in the league.
For the best tier 3 event in the whole ecosystem.
Oh yeah. So, with that established, those are our 3-0 groups. Let's chat a bit about some of the groups that have now completed, and maybe give some overall group thoughts. Any additional sprigs of wisdom that come to mind, given what played out there. We have Group A now completed. They play their last match. Flippers take a 2-1 over Ember Foxes. So that means this group ends up with Legacy in first, Legacy in first, Flippers in second, Ember Foxes in third, and Foxtrot at fourth.
I think that's surprising in general. Maybe. So I do think Legacy was kind of the clear favorite, even though I did not put them as clear favorite, but they were kind of the clear favorite just
I picked
of
them
name
over
value, like we
Flippers.
mentioned originally. Yeah, I think that it made the more sense. I just wanted to see if maybe they crashed and burned, but they didn't. So first place makes the most sense. And I think that the rest just kind of fell in its place. Like Flippers was looking like an interesting team. Foxtrot also, I liked it quite a bit, and it was on Ember Foxes really to show up on. Sadly, they didn't that much.
Yeah, Flipper is a team I'm still looking at. I'm happy that they're in the 2-1 bracket now, as they've still got a couple of names on there that I am interested to see start to ascend in this new era where it feels like, you know, if you've been watching Tier 3 for the last few splits, it feels like you could take your pick of, like, name you would have had pegged for NACL, and they've probably gotten some NACL reps now, like especially now with Sushi getting to sub in on Near Airport and like Cryogen getting to play as a sub on Darkzero Darkzero Dragonsteel. The list of players who are like, I want to see this guy in NACL is actually like, it feels like a whole lot of my backlog got cleared out this season, you know, with with AMI qualing and then, you know, a bunch of the Ducky Getters guys getting pulled up with Pulse. It just feels like Hoarder promoting finally. Like, so many guys have gotten their shot. That, you know, it's kind of time to start building up that list again of players who you want to see at the NACL level. And I think Flippers is an interesting place to start. I like Aj a lot. He's a player I think could is like one step up away from being right on that borderline. Newer players like Inflame and Arbrio, also players to keep an eye on. So the fact that these guys are kind of joining together without like a real, like, you know, guy who's done it before, you know, like Wenwin's been around the block a bit and stuff, but it's not like these guys have like, not like anybody on this team is like a perma top 4 OQ competitor. So will be very cool if they continue to find success.
I'm with it.
Yeah. All right, not too much else on Group A. Group B rounds out with DIH Esports taking down Novosphere Gaming Myth. That puts DIH in second, so this group ends up being Pookie Bears first, DIH second, Novosphere Gaming Myth in third, and High Alert in fourth. So, 2-0s across the board here. Feels like a very clear tier list in Tier 2. You know, the notable exception here being that the Pookie Bears do take a 2-0 over DIH Esports. That is without our Mayo, of course. But they are they just put out a big video about this team. I know I saw what's his name? Sanchovies did a long video that I have not watched all of, but I know was focused on DIH Esports. So it will be interesting to see as the fans of some of these streamers start to roll into ACL.
Dude, this is the era of you were talking about the new era. This shit is the new era where we have content creators going into competitive settings of tournaments and just bringing the viewership. I feel right. Like we've got Los Ratones obviously, but near Airport, Sanchovies. TF Blade is in the NACL. Like, it's...
I keep thinking this team has Lawrence on it because Sanch also has a barcode username.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
Like the Lawrence special. But yeah, they come out of their group in second, so they will be in the 2-1 bracket. Shout out to the Pookie Bears for being able to get out there in the 2-0 bracket, where they do, of course, drop to Galaxy and now find themselves in 2-1 themselves. But strong GSL group showing for Pookie Bears, especially just 4-0ing their way right through it. Yeah, Novosphere, not exactly a team that was like high up on our list, but yeah, definitely showing some struggles there up against some of the higher ranked teams in this group. But yeah, with all 2-0s, feels like not a lot to stand out there. Group C with a little bit of an upset here. ACL GSL take a 2-0 over Zero Animosity to round out that group. So despite an exciting 2-0 win to start off the league on the featured stream, Zero Animosity exit that group in third. First goes to Citadel, of course, second to A5 Wagyu, and third to Novasphere. So a couple of really close series here. Citadel and Zero Animosity is a 3-game series.
The fourth to Novasphere, right?
That's what I said. Is that what I said?
You said third Novasphere.
Oh, fourth to Novasphere. Third goes to Zero Animosity. But a 3-game series between Citadel and CB, a 3-game series between Citadel and Zero Animosity, and another 3-game series between CB, A5 Wagyu, and Novasphere. So very interesting stuff here. I think all of these teams are kind of exciting. I thought Novasphere would end up being a little bit more dangerous than they ended up getting just knocked out in fourth here, but they do take a game up against CB A5 Wagyu, a team that has been punching above their weight class kind of the whole tournament.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. I'm impressed. I mean, I feel like there haven't been a ton of like crazy upsets over the course of the first few weeks. Like, I think the dominoes have fallen into place relatively accurately to what people predicted. I know we weren't the only ones. Like, I know Salty Rumback did like a whole thing on ACL about predicting them. And despite not being ball knowers, unlike us, they were pretty on the money to what's happened so far. So it's cool to see that there are those like little pocket upsets that are happening here and there over like seeding.
Do you
But
see
still, nothing insane, you know? It's not like a Citadel level team has like bombed out or mental boomed, unless you're counting the team with Drexer.
Yeah, well, so here's something to check out about CB-A5 Wagyu, right, is the Munchie clone that they've got in the jungler, Minju, who seems to be a new face to most of us. Kind of putting up some numbers the last couple of weeks. Gets his first Master Yi game. He's a big Master Yi guy. Gets his first Master Yi game this week against Zero Animosity. 9-1-9. Just absolutely dominates it. And then last week as well, in one of their matches against Novasphere, he busts out the Kazakhs, Quax. A 12-2-8 Kazakhs game for Minju. Also looking pretty good. That one's up against Honest Abe over on Novasphere. And then, of course, that Master Yi game is up against... who's the Zero Animosity jungler? They have some weird name in solo queue that I don't recognize. It's Eon Crystal. It's Eon Crystal. The Zero Animosity jungler. Yeah. So putting up some good showings here. I'm interested in keeping my eye on this guy as a relatively as a rising star here in ACL, especially now that they find themselves in a 2-1 bracket because they're able to defeat Zero Animosity. So that's better than everybody but 4 teams.
It's always fun, and going forward, right? Like now that you've shown the ability to win these like Yi games and Kazakhs games, the first start, like when you research squads like this in such an open phase of the competition, it's like, oh, okay, I see solo queue, like this guy's the Yi guy, this guy's the Kazakhs guy. That's when you first get the bans and get targeted, but there's always gonna be that team that's gonna like be like, all right, let's test it. Let's verify that we need to like adapt a draft around this guy ban wise, and passing that test is huge. Now teams have actual ACL tape saying, all right, maybe we don't let the Yi through, maybe we don't let the Kazakhs through, and if we're going to, we're gonna have to game plan around shutting this guy's jungle down, either power farming on the Yi or trying to path for bullying some of these lanes. That's big, and that's something that like every team above them is gonna have to take note of, especially even once we get out of Swiss.
Yeah, and I feel like there's also it's also one of those things where it's like you get players like that, and you have to ask, like, are they gonna play this garbage every game? Like, come on, are they gonna have a real pool, or is it just going to be like them trying to solo carry on hard farm junglers every single game? But now he's got like a bunch of Xin games and stuff. He's played some Jarvan and things, so he's playing like regular, they're strong junglers, they're gank-centric junglers, but, it's not all just, like, trying to do this, like, solo carry hero shit.
Right.
Which is good. Yeah, you love to see that kind of, you want to see that kind of flexibility in a newcomer, and that he's not just gonna, face roll the Master Yi every single game. And that it's more of a pocket pick for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip over groups D and E, as they have not had any new games since we talked about them last week. Group F comes out ends up with a Weber State 2-1 over Uncles that was featured on stream with you, Quax. So this group ends up being Galaxy Gaming out in first, Weber in second, Uncles in third, and who am I forgetting? Gravity in fourth.
Gravity. Yep.
Yeah, so
this is what you get for catching Weber in CLOL form. This is what happens.
Yeah,
true.
So Weber, I think both teams actually looked really good. Like I think Uncles in game 1 actually looked extremely solid. And game 3 was down to the wire. Like I genuinely think that, and you can watch the replay, I genuinely think that if Uncles just bum rushed the dragon and didn't hesitate to try and cover mid, basically what happened was the two teams were fighting over, I think it was either Soul or it was Elder, and Weber gained control of mid, and they had Pantheon and Talia. They picked off Pantheon, so no jungler, and they had the opportunity to go for the dragon, but they danced around. Weber got control of mid, started just barreling down the lane, like going to their base and like threatening to take inhib potentially. And then Uncles are all of a sudden like, oh shit, okay, well, we have to go defend that. So they drop the dragon, and this gives time for Pantheon to respawn, instantly gets there with the Grand Starfall. So there's no tempo timing advantage that Uncles can play for. And they are down items, they're down health bars. They hadn't reset because they had picked off the Pantheon and done their thing previously, which costed resources. They all died and they lost. So it feels like if they had just played that ending fight a little bit more concisely, then they probably would have been able to win that third game. I will say, though, Goku played like a beast in game 3. Like I called it in game number 1, but like his Talia is just fucking awesome to watch. Like he ended the game like 10-2-10. His like signature pick gets pulled out in game 3, like saves the whole game. Another player that I was pleasantly surprised by was Batao. He's the only player not on their CLOL team, right? Jexor is the top laner for Weber usually. And he actually, I think, did really, really well. I was pleasantly surprised with him. Everyone else did good. I think Sendy and U13 had a bunch of really cool moments. U13 on the Pantheon was really cool to see. But yeah, I think it ultimately just came down to a poor macro decision by Uncles in game 3 that cost them the game. If they had just cleaned that up, they probably could have reset. They probably would have lost an inhibitor, but they could have reset, stalled, fought, and potentially won. So it was extremely close, honestly. So I really enjoyed that series.
I didn't realize we've been missing TDS for an indeterminate amount of time as power went out, and we didn't notice because the.
I thought you know. I thought we noticed, or I noticed. I just didn't want to.
Okay, well we'll bring it up. TDS is not just like falling asleep and not talking about ACL. TDS lost power at some point, so he's in Gromp mode right now. We'll see if we get him back before we round things out.
Mode. Yeah, I though you could talk about some of it with like CLOL, but U13 and Goku are such a fun duo, and I really think they could make a ton of noise in ACL. So,
and hey, man, one of the things that I said going into that series was like, this was the day before they played GVU, and I was like, if they win here, they can ride that momentum into CLOL. And guess who beat GVU, right? So,
there
you go. Yeah, they look really good. I think Weber have looked like. You look at them from last year, and I feel like there's definitely a difference. I think Weber look better in 2025 than they do in 2024. Like in 2024 fall, obviously you can say 2024 fall, the competition was steeper, and you would be right. But Weber this year just seems like they are on the same page more consistently, and are just playing better League of Legends. So, whatever is the contributing factor to that, keep it up, WSU, because you guys are doing very well. I'm actually legitimately excited to see where this team ends up. Even though they don't top the group, they still look good.
That they do.
Agree with that. So Group G, with 2 more groups to go, is finished out with UCI taking a 2-0 over Desperado Esports Damocles. So that finds us with a first place for Prosperity. Of course, we talked about them already. Second, UCI. Third, Desperado. And fourth is Mint. So very interesting that works out there. We called out earlier Mint. Immediately a incredibly dangerous team, the 0-2 bracket. Do they win out? Oh, they haven't played Novasphere yet, but I think they are heavy favorites against Novasphere.
Yeah.
This team will climb out of these depths, I think, pretty quickly.
Yes, very quickly. I think you're just not going to see a team with like solo lanes with like Ginkwall and Ariana fall out like this. And
I don't know. I'm not super like, obviously I'm not saying that like Ginkwall and Ariana are like bad. I'm not necessarily as high on the GBU solo lanes as I think a lot of other people are. I'm not saying they're going to. I'm not saying they're going to. I'm not saying they're not going to get out of this deficit, but I think I wouldn't put it past this team to unexpectedly potentially not make playoffs. Like I expected this team to probably make playoffs, and now I'm not so sure.
I
16 slots is a lot of slots. I'll say
16
that.
slots is a lot. I don't disagree with your sentiment about the solo lanes for playoffs. I think I'm waiting to have those conversations once 16 slot playoffs comes in.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And because it's like, a lot of... We'll see. I think it'll be a tight race. I think there's going to be a very exciting matchup in like week 5 and week 6 around this. And it's going to be like 2 teams that both could realistically make it, and one will and one won't. We'll get into that kind of position. Because, but also like the nature of these groups is that there are some like relatively weak teams, I think, getting seeded into these like that already have a win, like no hate here, but Desperado Esports Damocles and stuff like that, like find themselves now in the 1 and 2 bracket, and you can't take that one win away from them. So once Mint gets their one win, it's a likely matchup to occur because Mint was a higher seeded team. So it's like you get to, the format lets you climb the ladder back up if you stumble early as a team that is relatively higher seeded. And the way the group draw works is what Mint is. Mint are a tier 3 team, but they're on the higher end of tier 3 teams. So I think they'll get back to 2 wins without too much trouble, and then it'll start to get a little more dicey for them.
We'll have to see. We'll have to track that.
But yeah, UCI up to 2-1 though. I think that's not a big surprise. I think this UCI team, they're like one of those teams that I feel like unless they forfeit more series to Desperado, or they didn't forfeit to Desperado. That's unfair. They ran a sub squad against Desperado that did not do well.
Yeah.
As long as they don't run more sub squads, which I doubt they will because they're out of C-Law. Shout out to the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in St. Louis.
I like that we keep saying the full thing.
It's so funny. I have to
it's
say
so
the
funny
whole
to
thing.
say. Yeah. It's like the whole meme.
Yeah, that's yeah, I don't know. Was that the meme before I kept saying it on broadcast, or did I do?
Well,
is that my
fault?
fault?
I think like in chat they just started. Maybe it was off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they started saying it in chat because I said it after game 2, or if they were already saying it. I don't know. Like, I can't claim ownership over just saying the university name, surely, but
definitely can't.
No, but that was, I don't know. It's very funny either way. Props, whether it's my joke or not, it's very funny.
Yes.
Now, moving on to Group H, that is going to be a 2-0. What was that? Sorry.
This was the stream match.
This was the stream match. It's Calamity
Cal
Esports.
Cal Gold Bears.
Yep, the Cal versus Cal showdown. Calamity Esports take down Cal Golden Bears.
I didn't notice that.
A matchup I thought would be closer because it was 3 games when they met each other the first time, but I don't know, man. Calamity just kind of show up to play. I was really impressed with Icade, especially. Got gets quadra kills in both games. That dude was on a tear. Really strong bot lane performances. From Icade Pentius as a duo. I shouted out Pentius earlier. Has a sick Poppy game, as every freaking player that was in front of my eyes this week apparently did. Yeah, that Poppy makes a big difference. Is just really able to create a whole bunch of space. Trey Dog gets a little smashed. I do want to see him work on his non-tank play, but it is not enough. Although I did still think I saw some impressive stuff out of Juicebox, the top laner for the Cal Golden Bears. A little bit more of a carry-focused guy. Got himself some good organic leads, obviously. Like most top laners that are like this in our scene, a bit vulnerable to the old gank button, but works on that. I thought that was an interesting point of strength for the Cal Golden Bears that I would like to see them grow on over in that 1 and 2 bracket.
Yeah, that 1-2 bracket is it's all about most of these teams like showing growth and what they learned from the GSL stage without a doubt. Because the rest of this group rounds out with what? JLH 4th and who?
Correct.
Mike?
Yeah, it's it's JLH 4th and it's Tempest Gaming 1st.
Dude,
in a little bit of a surprise, and then they forfeit their 2-0 match. So I don't know what's going on over there, but
wait, who 2-0'd? Wait, who FF'd?
Tempest.
JLH. Yeah.
No, Tempest Main.
No. Tempest Main forfeited their 2-0 match.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tempest
shit.
Main forfeited their 2-0 match. Their match against Citadel. That's why Citadel hasn't actually had to win a series.
Oh.
That's why Citadel hasn't actually won a series 2-0 yet.
Yep.
Oh shit. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm still interested in seeing more from this Tempest team. Well, this is also this is the Tempest team that had Dragowski, but now has Biostir. So I wonder what that's going to be like for them as they
try to figure some things out.
Yeah, it does appear like they're not going to run because who was the jungler they added? They added Ulper QQ, who did not actually end up playing for them. So now they have Biostir instead in the jungle. We will see how that works out for them, as he appears to be Diamond 2 with no previous games.
Intriguing. Is it Quax on an alt?
It might be.
I have fucking decayed. I am in Emerald. I have not played ranked in a month.
Okay, never mind. It's not Quax.
It's not me. I am waiting until hopefully this Wednesday to give the game another try.
Give the game another try.
I have not played in a month. I don't give a fuck right now. I'm in don't give a fuck mode at the current moment with solo queue.
Okay, they did play with Ulper against Calamity, so worth calling that out. And they do win that series. So, am I crazy?
We'll have to see.
Yeah. So Tempest Gaming, yeah. So in their 2-1 against Calamity, they do play with Ulper there. But now they are not keeping Ulper. So we'll be interested to see how they do with this new Biostir edition. Why is that name so familiar to me?
I have no clue. It does not seem familiar for me.
Maybe he was just on the sub squad before, and that's why he stood out to me. I don't know. But, yeah, this will be an interesting team to check out. The other thing is they were running Conquer in the top lane for a while. They do have this Hollowed guy as well, who will be... We'll keep our eyes open if he actually ends up playing any of these games. But interesting team, this Tempest Gaming squad. A team that we do not know very much about, that we haven't seen very much from, but finds themselves now in the 2-1 bracket. So could be a little run in the making here. I mean, they're halfway there. They got plenty more games to play.
Just gotta show us what roster they want to put forward first. Or
but it does seem like I guess we didn't bring this up last week and probably should have. They did win a series without Dredo already. Dredo / Dragowski. He was gone already when they played against Calamity, and they still came out 2-1. And that Calamity team looked good. I was impressed with them against the Cal Golden Bears. So
we'll see.
Tier list kind of creating itself before our eyes here.
Yeah, or a circle of suck too.
Or a circle of suck.
The ACL circle of suck. It's gonna be the
ACL circle of suck
length.
is huge, dude. It's tremendous. Let's wait until Swiss is over. We'll see how big of one we can make.
Whoever makes the tweet first wins.
Of a full circle of suck, a full 32 team.
Yup.
Not gonna be old Slayer. I'll tell you that.
Well, it might not even happen, dude. We would need somebody that. I mean, actually, it can't happen because somebody is going to unless you count individual games.
Citadel, breaking news! Citadel loses to Tempest Gaming JLH.
Well, you could count individual games. I guess is the life hack here, right? You could say like Citadel dropped a game to A5 Wagyu or something and put them in the circle of suck that way. If you want to be like disingenuous, which you probably have to be because somebody is going to. I mean, two teams are going to qualify at 4-0, and then one of those teams is going to go 5-0 for the seeding advantage, and then they're going to stop playing until playoffs. So you're never going to have a team beating them.
You can't really do circle of suck with Swiss, unfortunately. I think the dream's dead. We've killed the dream, unless you just exclude the 5-0 team or do single games like
just cheat, That'll work. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode. We got to spend an hour on NACL, 40 minutes on ACL. That's good timing all around. Shout out to TDS, who was here for NACL, but was victim to a power outage halfway through. So it's been a joy to have his image here with us while we discuss ACL groups at the very least. Everybody tune in. What else what's streaming this week? There's CLAW this weekend.
Oh god, yeah, bro. There's CLAW, there's LTA, there's Slayer. Maybe a Slayer. Are you on LPL this week?
Yeah, well, I've already done 2 shifts. I have a third one tomorrow.
Okay, well, there's Slayer on LPL further this week. Go check him out. There's NACL.
There's ACL on Friday. There's
League
ACL
of Legends is back.
Yeah, there's ACL on Friday. Make sure to tune in here and on the Salt Mine. Where we will have, and when I say here, I mean the Aegis Esports GG channel, as well as here, which is the Salt Mine. There'll be streams on both channels. Definitely looking forward to those as this league starts to heat up a little bit. There's only really a couple more weeks until we start to get into those playoffs. Love this abridged format more and more every single week. And, and NACL this weekend, of course, and perhaps more news to come on LTA rosters. So plenty of stuff to get excited about. Maybe even seeing UG as soon as this weekend. Wouldn't that be something? So
yeah,
wouldn't that be?
Wouldn't that be?
Keep tuned in to all the socials. Thank you everybody for checking out the show, and we will see you all next time.